Item 10B, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a lease purchase agreement with J.P. Morgan Chase Bank to finance the purchase of a Seagrave Marauder II fire apparatus and appropriating $344,575 in the Equipment Replacement Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Edmondson Finance Director. On July 27th of last year, staff introduced and recommended to the City Council the replacement of a 1988 Pierce fire engine after 22 years of service and over 120,000 miles. City Council proceeded to authorize staff to enter into a purchase contract with Seagrave for the fire apparatus. However, since the Equipment Replacement Fund had only $342,000 of monies accumulated for the replacement of the equipment, staff recommended that we look at other financing opportunities to substantiate the purchase. So as a result, City Council actually directed staff to do that, to look for such financing options. We've since been notified by the vendor that the fire apparatus is near construction and is expected to be delivered to the city the week of August 22nd. So staff proceeded to contact a number of financing sources to determine what the options are available in terms of financing the apparatus. And through the solicitation of 6 firms, the lowest quote that we received was from J.P. Morgan Chase at an interest rate of 2.95% for a 7-year term. The rate is relatively low compared to some of the historical financing that we've done, and this is really a result of the current financing or the interest rate environment that is pervasive in the U.S. economy. The way the financing is structured is that the full amount of the loan for the value of the apparatus will be taken out. However, as I indicated earlier, since the city has reserve funds available, we're going to be making an initial payment of $300,000 against that loan, thereby really financing only the balance of $240,306. The rest of the equipment reserve fund of approximately $44,000 is going to be needed to pay for the sales tax associated with the purchase of the equipment. The interest associated with the 7-year arrangement for the financing works out to be approximately $29,000. Dividing that over a 7-year period gets us somewhere in the neighborhood of less than $4,000, about $4,000 a year in interest payments. Relatively low for a 7-year leasing financing, and again, as a product of the really low interest rate environments that we have. So the recommendation to the City Council is an appropriation of $344,575 for the current fiscal year. That's the composition of that is the $300,000 down payment, and also the balance of that being the payment of the sales tax. And with that, I can take any questions on this staff report.
Any questions of staff?
Through the chair.
Michael.
I have a few questions just regarding the overall health of the equipment reserve fund.
Yes.
And we're pretty much depleting it here with this purchase. And I'm wondering, after we make this transaction, what sort of a period are we looking before we can actually restore what we need to save for the next fire engine? And that fire engine, I imagine, would probably be purchased sooner than the 20 years that the previous one lasted. I imagine that there's some other ones that are getting ready to be retired in the next decade or so.
Yes, so the Equipment Replacement Fund, the way it's built is we've identified individual pieces of equipment. So every year there's set aside money that's put in. In this particular case, for this apparatus, we accumulated some $340,000 in the reserve fund. So that money then is now available to use as a down payment and also for the payment of sales tax. So we're not actually drawing down them any more than what we've saved over time. In terms of what this does to the equipment replacement fund going forward, the first 7 years, there's going to be these lease payments that we're making. So that amount happens to be approximately, if we stretch it over time and say this new fire apparatus has a useful life of 15 years, which I think is reasonable. If you kind of divide that out, the cost of the new fire apparatus over 15 years, it works out to be about $39,000 a year. So it's very close to exactly what we're paying in terms of the annual lease payment. And it's somewhat by coincidence, not really designed to be exact, but as a coincidence, it's approximately the same amounts. So after the 7-year lease payment is up, the remaining 8 years of the 15-year life, we are then reaccumulating, if I may, funds into the equipment reserve fund for the replacement of this fire apparatus. So if you kind of turn the clock 15 years from now, there will be a new bucket of monies that we've saved over time for the replacement of the new fire apparatus. In terms of existing other fire apparatus equipment, again, there are specific reserves that were accumulated for each and every one of those apparatus. So as they come to the end of their useful life, we will be again turning to the equipment replacement fund for the replacement of those apparatuses.
Okay.
Those individual apparatuses.
And just trying to do this in my head, what it looks like to me is that by the time we go to purchase the next one in 15 years,
Yes.
we may have actually accumulated less than what we have in there right now. And that fire engine will likely be far more expensive. So with every cycle, it seems like we're going to have to finance more and more of the purchase.
That may be the case, and one of the things that staff wants to do, will be doing on a regular basis in terms of looking at the operating budget, is to reevaluate the needs of the equipment replacement fund and potentially up those amounts so that we can have sufficient funds going forward for these type of replacements.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Any action?
I'll introduce the resolution.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.